Jaishankar's Doctrine of the Global South. An overview. In recent years, Indian Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has articulated a strategic vision that emphasizes the importance of the Global South, a term that broadly refers to developing countries in Africa, Latin America, Asia, and Oceania. His doctrine is rooted in India's historical, geopolitical, and economic context, advocating for a multipolar world order where emerging economies play a pivotal role. This approach underscores India's desire to build alliances based on mutual development, respect for sovereignty, and shared aspirations, diverging from traditional Western-centric diplomacy. Historical context and the evolution of India's foreign policy. India's engagement with the Global South is not a novel concept. Post-independence, leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru championed anti-colonialism, non-alignment, and South-South cooperation. These principles aim to counterbalance Cold War superpower rivalry and promote development among developing nations. Over time, however, India's foreign policy became more pragmatic, focusing on strategic alliances, economic interests, and security concerns. S. Jaishankar, a seasoned diplomat and current External Affairs Minister since 2019, has revived and redefined this legacy through his emphasis on the Global South. His doctrine is an extension of India's strategic intent to position itself as a key leader among emerging economies, advocating for a fairer international order. Core principles of Jaishankar's doctrine. 1. Multipolarity and respect for sovereignty. Jaishankar emphasizes the need for a multipolar world where no single power dominates. This aligns with the principles of respect for sovereignty and non-interference, especially pertinent to developing nations wary of Western interventionism. For instance, India's stance on issues like the Ukraine conflict underscores its call for dialogue and peaceful resolution, aligning with the interests of the Global South. 2. South-South cooperation. A cornerstone of Jaishankar's doctrine is fostering economic and diplomatic ties among developing countries. This includes expanding trade, investment, technology sharing, and capacity-building initiatives. For example, India's participation in forums like BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, IBSA, India, Brazil, South Africa, and the India-Africa Partnership exemplifies this approach. 3. Strategic autonomy. Jaishankar advocates for the strategic autonomy of the Global South, meaning countries should be free to pursue their development paths without undue influence from traditional powers. This aligns with India's own foreign policy, which seeks to avoid becoming a pawn in larger geopolitical rivalries. 4. Development-centric diplomacy. Recognizing that economic development is central to stability and growth, Jaishankar emphasizes infrastructure, health, education, and digital connectivity. India's development assistance, such as lines of credit to African and Caribbean nations, exemplifies this focus. Facts and initiatives supporting the doctrine. India-Africa relations. India has increased its engagement with African nations through the India-Africa Forum Summit, which started in 2008. The third summit in 2015 saw commitments of over $10 billion in lines of credit for projects in infrastructure, health, and education. BRICS collaboration. Since its formation in 2009, BRICS has become a vital platform for the Global South. India's leadership within BRICS underscores its commitment to creating a counterbalance to Western economic dominance. The new Development Bank, NDB, established by BRICS, aims to fund infrastructure projects in emerging economies. India's role in the Indo-Pacific. Jaishankar's doctrine extends to the Indo-Pacific region, emphasizing a free, open, and inclusive space. India's Act East policy and partnerships with ASEAN countries reflect efforts to promote regional stability and development. Global South and multilateral forums. Jaishankar has actively engaged in the United Nations, G20 and WTO, advocating for reforms that give greater voice to developing nations. India's push for permanent UN Security Council membership for emerging economies exemplifies this. Climate and sustainable development. Recognizing the unique vulnerabilities of the Global South, India has championed climate justice, emphasizing that developed nations should shoulder more responsibility for mitigation and adaptation. Challenges and criticisms. While Jaishankar's doctrine aims to elevate the Global South, it faces challenges. Geopolitical rivalries. Countries like China and the US also seek influence in the Global South, often leading to competition and sometimes conflicting interests. Economic constraints. Many developing countries face debt burdens, infrastructural deficits, and governance issues, limiting their ability to fully leverage South-South cooperation. Balancing act. India must navigate its own strategic interests, especially with China's Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, which overlaps with India's regional aspirations. Conclusion. Jaishankar's doctrine of the Global South is a strategic reaffirmation of India's historical commitment to South-South cooperation, coupled with a modern emphasis on multipolarity, strategic autonomy, and development-led diplomacy. It seeks to empower emerging economies, foster equitable global governance, and create a more balanced international order. While challenges persist, India's active engagement and leadership within the Global South mark a significant shift toward a more inclusive and multipolar world, aligning with its national interests and global aspirations. Please subscribe to our channel and like and